It's the beginning of the end. It's death to an organization.
So I am a former CEO and general counsel of a life sciences company with about 100 employees, and we did about 20 million in revenue.
Wow.
We were actually acquired a couple of years ago by a Fortune 100 company.
Wow.
And if you can imagine, I was excited to maybe leave that larger company and join a smaller company. And so recently, I've joined another growth company that about 150 employees. They do about 30 million in revenue. And I'm going to step in as the general counsel and build out the legal function for this company. And my question is, how do I best build a new team culture within this new organization and help support this company, achieve its goals?
Wow. What industry are they in?
Similar. So it's also a life sciences company.
Okay. All right. So you're asking about the legal team's culture and 150
Exactly.
employees. How many people are on the legal team?
Yeah, it's just me right now. So it's a team of one. They've used kind of outside legal counsel up until this point.
Are you adding to your team?
I hope so. Probably the back half of 2025, I'll look to add a contracts person.
Okay. So you're talking about the rest of the company, not the legal team culture then, because you are the legal team. So if you want to change the culture, you just look in the mirror.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
You're right. As it sits here today, it'll just be me.
It's more how you interface with the rest of the company and how the legal side of this company is perceived.
You're right. Yeah,
Okay.
That's my current question. You're
Okay,
spot
I'm
on.
making sure I got my hands around what you're asking. Okay, good. That's a great question, by the way. Thank you.
Sure.
Well, I sense from listening to your journey and even your question that you're more entrepreneurial than the typical person in your role.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. Which is, I think, going to be a tremendous advantage to answering the proper way to handle your question, the proper way to implement what's handling your question. So my experience watching companies when they get to this size or even our size, which is larger, that if you're not careful, somewhere along the way, and sometimes it has to do with the venture capitalists coming in, sometimes it has to do with the founder getting tired, the generation 3 letting their foot off the gas, whatever it is that happens, that when the CFO and the accounting team paired with the legal team start driving all the decision making, it's the beginning of the end. It's death to an organization. When the bean counters and the lawyers take over, it's death to an organization. And I'm excluding you from that insult because I don't think you're that guy. You follow me? But have you seen what I'm talking about?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. Because, if everybody's, it's not in the budget, which you need to have a budget and you need to stick to your budget. But if the whole thing coming from the accounting team is here to screw things up and slow things down, then who the heck, wants to submit anything to the accounting team? They're a barrier. They're an internal barrier to getting crap done. And instead, the accounting team ought to be entrepreneurial and coming alongside the business unit and figuring out a way to get the business done. I did a contract with I won't name them, but a large known network to try to do a show on that network. And we made an attempt, and it was a horrible attempt, and I was bad, and they didn't use it, thank God. But in negotiating the contract, I had outside counsel. I didn't have internal counsel at that time. It was years ago. I hired a major guy in that space, and I was paying him like $1,200 an hour to get this contract wrapped up. The president of the network and I had a term sheet. The deal was done. Getting the contract to match the term sheet took 90 days. And my attorney that I had hired that was working with his network, he said he works with them all the time, and the people that work inside that network call the legal team the business interruption department. And so if I'm in your shoes, what I want to be is the exact opposite of that. I want to be the business facilitation department. I want the guys that are pushing products to the front lines going, our legal counsel is so entrepreneurial that Scott can see the legal dangers and figure out a way that we can still maneuver through those things and get the product to market. Instead of, Scott's a barrier. Every time I try to do something, all he can come up with is all the reasons it won't work. Because you're actually not that guy. You just got to figure out a way to communicate that, right?
Exactly. You're right. Definitely I do not want the legal team to be seen as the prevention department, to your point.
Yeah, the business interruption department. That's just a horrible name.
Exactly.
Yeah, so their job is to screw up Christmas, and they're really good at it. Next, they're going to work on Easter. So it's just like, oh my gosh. So, yeah, I think, and we've got about a 5-6 person legal team here out of 1,200 folks. And, it was weird here. Our senior legal counsel is so entrepreneurial like you are. He didn't have any trouble with this. Where I had trouble with it was some of our leadership team that had worked at other places felt like they had to get legal's permission to do stuff. Mm. And we've never asked legal's permission to do anything. We told them what we're doing and told them to figure out how we were doing it. Unless they just want to stand and go, wait, bridge out. This is really stupid. We're all going to get sued here. Don't do this, okay? I mean, there's sometimes they need to stand in the road and stop the truck, but most of the time they just go, hey, turn left up there. The road's smoother, okay? And we're going to figure out how we're going to do this together. And so, but I had to break our team from going, the legal team is not your gatekeeper. The accounting team's not your gatekeeper. They are there to figure out a way to get stuff done, not keep stuff from getting done. And don't you give them more power than they have inside this company, because they don't have that power inside our company. But we had to say that out loud, especially some of our people that came from dysfunctional, toxic teams that were run by the bean counters and the legal beagles. And so I think you can do that. But I think it's just going to take a little while for them to get confidence that you've got their best interest internally at heart. The only thing I want to point out is there's a bump in the road over there. You probably ought to turn a little bit right and dodge that. But I still think we need to go forward with this because I see all the profit margin in what you're talking about. Yes, there's some risk, but there's risk in getting up in the morning.
Exactly.
And that's
great advice.
That's the kind of way you need to facilitate this. And I think you just go on a campaign as soon as you get in there, sitting down with you said there's 150. I'd sit down with the top 15 to 20 leaders and influencers inside the company, have lunch with them, and say, I want to form a different kind of legal department maybe than you've ever worked with before. I want to form a partnership with you on how we can get stuff done the fastest and the easiest without getting all our butts sued. And let me look at the contracts and help you do that and keep you from tripping over a tripwire where one of these companies is trying to slit our throat. But also let me help you, but don't let me keep you from getting stuff to market. I want to be the guy that helps you. I want to be seen as your advocate rather than your problem. Help me do that. And I would have a lunch with 15 or 20 of them, 1 or 2 at a time, and get that word out, and then follow that back up about 6 months later and do it again.
Perfect. I will do that.
Is that kind of what you've got in mind? Am I hitting the nail? Is that what you're talking about?
You are definitely hitting the nail. Yes, exactly. I want to be that strategic partner. And I think I know many of the team members, and I think they understand that, but it's still, to your point, there's probably a lot of history with past legal departments that may not be the case. And I just want to help them, enable their success and support their growth.
I think it's rare enough that you will have achieved something cool when you do it. I think we're achieving it internally, but we've actually had to pay attention to it and work on it. And because we're in having those exact same discussions, and it's accounting and legal. And I just don't have many traffic cops inside the building other than them. And you need them because they keep you from running into each other. But yeah, I think we've said enough about it. You're the right guy for the job, man. And if you just play that through, then they're going to start to see you as an asset, you're going to be a guy they want at the table when they're forming an idea. Because you add value. not, instead of being the roadblock. It's that simple, and that's a unique position to be in. And the beautiful thing about that is, as you know, there's so many tripwires in the legal world that, and we're in such a litigation-oriented society, that you can add tremendous value by taking that position rather than the bureaucratic position. So very, very cool stuff. I'm proud of you, man. Sounds like a cool gig. They're lucky to have you.